Hello fellow map makers, welcome to another live map making session. It's been a while, actually the last 2 weeks we didn't have any video, so I'm happy to be back and hope my voice holds. It's still a bit strained from last week's Gen Con event, as you may be hearing, and I'll try to keep it smooth, and if it doesn't work for so long, it might be a bit shorter today than usually. Anyway, happy to be back. We had a great show at Gen Con in Indianapolis, and happy to report that I made it back smoothly, no delays or layovers or missed flights on the way back, no lost luggage, as other people I've talked to at the show had some big problems. Yes, so I do sound a bit husky, I realize that. I've not had the chance to exercise my voice much since Gen Con, so. And I've been talking a lot there. So, what are we gonna do? Yes, I want to go for the latest annual issue, which was released just before Gen Con, and show you the new mapping style that is included in that. And I apologize for a little bit of problem with the first version of the installer for this annual issue. It was a bit rushed, and we were just in the process of renewing our code signing certificate. So Windows threw up a few more error messages and hurdles when this one was installed. But that has been fixed now, and if you had problems installing the annual issue, please re-download it and give it another try. It should work better now. So the style that came with the annual is a new black and white style, or basically in some ways an extension of an earlier black and white style, where that was a pure dungeon floor plan style, and this one goes for ruins and more outdoor material to extend those maps into outdoor settings. And now we are gonna see how we can use this. Just sorry, laughing about the comments on the bells, that someone's not hearing the bells. They are very loud. I can hear them very nicely through my headphones, and but I guess it depends very much on your individual phone settings. Today the windows open again as well, because just as I come back, the summer is coming back to Germany, and that means the bells are much more audible. Alright, so let's have a look at our map here. The one I've got on screen is the example map, and as you can already see, it's got some symbols for broken buildings and trees and walls. And I'm thinking I want to build a little ruins of a fort, something like that, in the middle of a forest overgrown, and see how we can create that with our mapping style. If you've got any questions during the session, please do post them in the chat, and people there will try to answer them as well as they can. They are probably very knowledgeable and will be able to answer most. I can also show stuff on screen if possible, so don't hesitate and post your questions if you have any. If you are viewing this later, do join our forums and ask questions there. You can use the announcement chat thread for the videos for this, or create new ones, just as you prefer. And people will answer in the forum. We don't check back on the comments on the YouTube's videos very often, so if I spot something that is a question below those, I will also try to answer it, but that may take a few days, since I'm not checking YouTube very often outside of the mapping sessions. That reminds me, I wanted to welcome any new viewers. We had a link to our YouTube channel up at the show at Gen Con, and quite a few people subscribed to the channel right there at the show as they bought the software or expressed their interest. So if you're new to this and joined us from Gen Con, welcome to our live map making session. And now finally, let's get to mapping. I'm going to click the new map icon up here on the file toolbar to bring up our new map visit. And from this, I'm going to go for the map type dungeons, because this tile is included under those. And then we are going to take a look, and down here are the inked ruins, both in a metric version and in a feet and imperial version. I'm going to go for that one and click next. And then the next step, I'm going to set the size of my map. I'm going to do a reasonably small map, so we can actually perhaps finish it in this mapping session. And going to do a 250 by 200 feet map. That's a good size to... cat is meowing and coming by, hearing me talk. Come up, Asa, on the desk. She's been quite affectionate since I had to leave her for a week for Gen Con. Since then, she's been even more close than usual. And here she comes. You're gonna get to see the tail as usual. And he's gonna stand right in front of my screen so I can't see anything. Here you go. All right. So we were setting the size here. And then I'm gonna just click finish. Gonna go to my videos and our current video folder, and I'm gonna save the map as the forest ruin. There we go, and here's our empty map. So let's have a look. And what I'm thinking, I'm not going to put ruins at the top of a cliff as I did with a example map, but I do want to include some of the cliff symbols to show them off. And so I'm thinking I'll make a fort just below a cliff somewhere in the forest. So let's have a look there. For the cliff symbols, we're going to go for the cave catalog settings, the cave catalog. You can see there's a cave cliff face in here, and this is basically a symbol that shows a rock face or slope, and you can stack these on top of each other to make a nice long cliff faces. I'm actually thinking I might make this a little bit larger for this cliff, so I'm going to 1.5, and I'm going to turn off snap here. Template has snap enabled to start with, but I want to place these freely. Yes, Quentin, you can be sure Asa has me under firm control. There's no doubt in that. And there we go, and then we're gonna just rotate this a little bit. There's also a few different cliff symbols, and they will automatically randomize, so pick a different one. And I also want to show a second layer of the cliff up here, but with a little gap in there, so for a softer slope like this. And you're going to see something here a little bit, which is the shadow that is on the cliff symbols do have a wall shadow attached to set them off a little bit from the rest, but this is going in the wrong direction. This is basically because, well, actually I'm not sure whether it's a wall shadow effect anymore. No, it's an outer glow. But the problem is it does go in both directions, but the problem is that it's showing to the wrong side also. So we wouldn't have a shadow on that side because that's the top level of the cliff. We only have a little shadow to the southern side of the cliff. For that, we do have a tool to set the whole cliff top off against the rest of the map. And for that, we are going to right-click our all terrain drawing tools and have a look for our cliff face. We have the terrain cliff background tool here. And this is basically just to get rid of that dark shadow back there. So we're gonna just draw this across these symbols and then attach it all the way on the side of the symbols where the cliff top would be. And and what I do need to front now are the symbols, because this basically goes on the same sheet as the cliff symbols and therefore hides the black glow that sets the front of the cliff a little bit off from the rest of the map. So what I'm going to do is going to bring to front and right click and choose by entity type, and I'm going to choose by symbol reference because I know the only symbols I've placed in the map so far are the cliffs. They're all selected. Press D for do it. Oh, now I'm confusing myself again. Do I have these on a different sheet? Symbols cliffs? No. Do I have these on a different sheet? Symbols cliffs? No. Now I'm confusing myself. Info list. Has it been too long that I've been away from mapping? It's all on the symbol reference sheet. Or did the... Okay, we have two different sheets. One is symbols cliff and... okay. Alright, I see there's a little problem there because because I hadn't symbols cliffs selected as the current sheet, my drawing tool, which should say cliffs and not cliff, created a new one. And so we're going to fix this first. I'll have to include that in the updated installer. And you wouldn't notice that if you had, I wouldn't have noticed that if I had been on the symbol cliffs sheet from the start, because there's just the end letter missing, the tool would have put this on the correct sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to sheet. I'm going to not move the symbols and put this on symbols cliffs and then send it to back. Oh. Not the symbols. Now I'm confusing myself again because now do I have the shadow again on the symbols. Well, this is a proper confusing start for just having returned from Gen Con. And I have to double check this again. Symbols cliffs, polygon, symbol reference. There we go. This should be right now. Okay. Gonna remove the two. Okay. Still have the... here we are. Now this is... No, I've deactivated sheet effects now. There we are. Might just been that I've had the other polygons still on the other sheets. Now that I've deleted them, yeah, I'm on the Symbols Glyphs sheet. Everything is on that here, and I've got the slight black glow only on the outer edge of the glyph, which is what I wanted to do. So sorry for the confusion. I've got that fixed now, and as you can see, you won't have the glow on this level of the glyph on these symbols because they're on the same sheet. If I wanted to have the same black glow on this section of the glyph, I would have to create a second set of sheets for these and do the same stuff again for the second glyph basically. And but I'm not going to do that because I'm fine with how this looks. Alright, so that was that. Next up, let's have a look at the ruins. So I'm gonna click on the debris catalog that only has the skulls and bones. The walls, that's where I did have symbols. It's been too long since I've been away too long, and I have to recheck a few things. Alright, so we do have a variety of different ruins, yeah, and there's several ways how we can do that. So I want to create a bit of a rectangular fort, so I'm gonna turn on snap to start with, and I'm gonna set this to normal, put a house in one corner, another one in this corner here, then I'm going to put a large tower in this corner and a smaller one in this corner. And then I'm going to put down some wall sections. And I'm also going to draw a bit of the walls with drawing tools, because I can do that as well. Click the... See, I've got a white ruined wall. Gonna keep a... see the symbol is more the narrow one, so I'm gonna undo that and use the narrow wall instead. There we go. Section here. And a small section here, just for a piece of wall. And then I'm going to take the narrow wall section again to just make a full unbroken wall here. This side I'm going to leave a gap as well as here, and then use the symbols to fill a little bit of that. There we go. So you can see the wall symbols go below the buildings, and there we are. Quite like that. You might be wondering how I do drawing tools that have this little bit of a hand-drawn look. I wanted to mention that. Yeah, Sue is just asking the question. Thank you, Sue. You're a good prompter. I was just wanted to talk about that. Because this is a fractal effect. If I take a look at the tool here, see, it's not drawing a line or path, it's actually drawing a fractal path. But with the fractal options have a very low strength. That means the individual points that get added don't deviate very much from the main path direction. And I'm adding a few of them, and that just gives this slight wobble, if you want to call that, in the line. What it doesn't do, it can't variate the length, the width of the black outline. Basically, that's not possible with this, but it's close enough that it does look hand drawn, or somewhat hand drawn at least. So then I did want to build put a ruin inside of the fort. Like this. A shed here somewhere. And another section of wall here. Thinking, just looking where I can nicely place these. There we go. It's pretty nice, and I can also use this to build a well or dungeon where there's a great crate on a hole in the wall, and I want to put one into the central building here. All nice and good. The only thing that I'm thinking that the roofs of my towers and my buildings are a bit too unbroken, a bit too in too good repair, and for that I do have a special drawing tool that will put holes in the walls. So that's this one here in bright magenta. That's because it uses a color key effect to break space into the symbols here. See that? Like this, you see the bright magenta, but when I turn on the sheet effects or redraw the map, you can see the hole that this puts in the rooftop. It's not really very well. Well, it's visible, but it doesn't say so much because there's just white behind that. But we're gonna fix that in a little bit to put a little bit of floor beneath that, so it's more obvious that it's supposed to be a hole in the wall. Alright, so for the floors, I'm gonna right-click the floor drawing tools, and here see I could place just some floor tiles below the building here, and doesn't need to extend to all of the building, just like this, and then you can see the tiles just below that hole down there. Same here, and then I'm gonna put some earthen floor underneath the holes in the towers. There we go. And now a little something. The 4 is quite fine as I wanted to do it, but I don't like that it's just so rectangular sitting there. It looks like it's been drawn on a grid because it has been drawn on a grid. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the whole thing and just rotate it a little to give that map a little more of a natural feel. This. There we go. And there's my fort a little bit rotated. So time to add a little bit of texture to the backgrounds. So I'm going to go into my outdoor tool, and I'm going to place the default terrain, the rocks terrain underneath the fort itself, just to show that there's probably some larger masonry lying around. There we go. Though I'm not so happy with it's perhaps a bit too it's a bit of a large section, and this one big rock in there shows up repeatedly because it's a repeating pattern, a hatch style. So that is a bit too regular for my taste. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo this, and instead I'm going to do more of a simpler one as the base. the default dust here. And then I'm just gonna do a few sections with the rock. So we don't get the same kind of repetition in the map. See, like this. And that way. Well, it looks much better. There we go. Then I do want to add a little bit. Oh, what did I click there? I'm switched to in a different tool interface. I could switch back simply to the dungeon interface and bring that back, but that might also load a different style, which I don't want. So what I'm going to do is instead I'm going to save the map and simply reload it by clicking on the list of previous maps, and that not only reloads the style and everything, it also reloads the menu that's currently loaded with all the different buttons and stuff. So I'm back to what I had there. So the general tip, if you messed up something of the interface or accidentally changed the style, the easiest thing to bring everything back is just simply to reload the map. You don't even need to close Campaign Cartographer. Just save your current map and then reload it from the list. And it will reload all the things the map does when it starts originally. Okay, so I've got this down. I'm going to want to look a little bit at my my cliff. Here I'm going to draw a bit of texture. Top here. Then again, I'm going to take a bit of the rock texture to overlay that. Okay. Ah, yeah, that's because the outside is underneath the Simul's glyphs, and these ones are actually on the floor sheet. So let's have a go. Or did I use the walls background? I'm gonna do a quick check here through the sheets to see what's where. The background sheet is just the white one. Click next, and then I've got on the outside. I do have the. No, I'm confused. Thought I had. Okay. Next sheet. It's background. Yes. Yeah, these ended on the floors where they actually should show up on the outside one. There we go. Just cycle through the sheets a little more to see whether I've got everything where I wanted it. There's the walls. There's the symbols for the walls, symbols buildings. Yes, and the cliff should be here. Yes, show all. And I'm just confused that my terrain here is not showing. Where did this end up? Quick look. So the outside sheet. Did I perhaps? Ah, yeah. What happened is I accidentally, it looks like I accidentally fronted just the white outline and not the hedge fill. and that why the hedge fill wasn't showing there. Same here, I guess. Combine, not this one. Come on. Let's have a quick look whether this is... No. Is there anything on a different sheet there? Yes, that ended up on the floor sheet. So let's hide everything and move that back to the outside sheet. Here we are. And send it to the back. There we are. That's more like it. Alright, so next thing I want to do is add a little bit of overgrown texture. And take care not to use the floor versions this time, but the terrain version. So it does go on the outside sheet, as you can see up here. That's what I did wrong there previously. Accidentally picked the floor version. But that goes on a different sheet. And so I'm just gonna put in some vegetation texture here. I'm not too bothered if this is a bit repeating, because this is gonna get covered by a lot of trees in a moment. There we are. And next up I'm gonna place some trees. So here I'll load the Skirmish catalog, and that has tree symbols. They should go, if you can place them on the normal symbols sheet if you want to make lower ones, or make them use these as bushes or something. If you want to for them to be higher up and covering other stuff, switch to the symbols trees sheet and placing them, which I'm doing here now. And then I'm gonna down some simple trees here to show the forest around the ruin. And as you can see, this covers up most of the texture, the undergrowth texture basically, and doesn't makes it not so repeating in appearance. It looks quite nice. I could add a couple ones at the top of the, oops, that's a bit too far. I don't want quite a large one there. There we go. One here. There. Okay. It's nice. And then I'm going to switch back to the normal symbols sheet and draw some bushes underneath the trees. You can overlap them with the trees without problems, because they go on a lower sheet. They will be just hidden or partially be hidden below the trees in a moment. But on the other hand, they will cover up other symbols, or lower symbols at least, and I want to add a few bushes inside the fort, as it's supposed to be partially overgrown. There we are. And that looks pretty nice. So next up, what I want to do is add a little bit in the way of stones and rocks. So I'm going to go for the normal symbols sheet first to place some larger rocks, preferably at the base of the cliff. And then I'm gonna go for rocks, and these are gonna go on the symbols flat sheet, because I don't want these to cast much in the way of shadows. This will also break up any background hatch fills a little bit further. So I'm going to put some there, and then we've got some. Which did I play? Did I use the rocks or the stones? Good question. I forget. Let's see what I placed last. I can always check the symbol manager. I use the rocks symbol. So what I want to do next is place some stones for some even smaller symbols. Large ones. Let's place these inside the ruin. And then some smaller ones. All going on the symbols flat sheet. So towers or anything else will cover them up, but if I place them down here above on the floor, they should still be visible through the hole in the roof there. I've got a question there from Jim whether the Annie looks good with shadows. You mean real drop shadows and stuff on the symbols? Probably not, because it's a lot of just black and white, and that means you will run into lots of confusion problems with the sheet effects, where Bank can't differentiate between the same sheets because they have the same color. And I've set this up. I could have set this up with more different shades of gray and stuff, but I didn't really want to do that, and so this will not do very well on shadows generally and effects like bevels and so on. But you can certainly experiment with that and see whether you get some nice effects on some of the symbols here. For example, let's have a quick look whether we can do a drop shadow on the, what happens if we put a drop shadow on the cliffs instead. So let's make a quite visible drop shadow in map units. Okay, turn off the outer glow instead. And there we have that. Yes, it's quite visible. Well, probably should make it a little bit weaker and on the correct side of the cliff, but then we don't have it on the other section of cliff. And the white stones are very obvious there, so you would need to change some additional stuff to make this still good, but it's still possible to do that. I wanted to keep outlines and shadows and glows to a minimum on the map, just because it's supposed to be with inks drawn, and this will normally be just a plain black and white map. You could even turn off the sheet effects completely and really only have a line map there. Yeah, the only thing you need then to take care of is the holes in the walls. Alright, so I think that's pretty good as a little overview, black and white overview map, but I do want to add a little bit some labels and title and stuff. So we can load up the Cartouche catalog, I think. Cartouche here, there we are, for a scale bar. So it's a scale in feet, set to normal, that means it's 100 feet. Scale is a bit too large to place in the map for my taste, so I'm gonna make half the size. That looks good. I'm gonna turn on snap actually. Just have to put in a 50 instead of 100 then at half size, so it's a 50 feet map. And I'm gonna put a north compass, north pointer above that. There we are. And now for the text, let's change the layer to text labels. I could just use a black and white name for the map, which would fit the ink style, but I quite like the red, use a red for this one, just so it stands out. Yeah. So, broken fort. It's nice and large. Yeah, I can see it does have a white outline. Oops, that was a misclick. To make this more visible. And I want to give this a subtitle. In Weird Forest. Let's not make it wood, let's do it Weird Road Forest. Oops, I think, let's try this again. I did have another command there, it was a mid command somewhere else. And as I cancelled that, I probably also cancelled the text placement. It's better. Make the text smaller, so it's clearly a subtitle. If it's your scaling jumps too much, as it does here, this is too large for my taste and this is too small. That's because we've got the snap turned on, and the mouse snaps between these two points. So just turn snap off. Is a little bit larger. That then turns snap back on, so we put the text on the same alignment on the left, and there we do have the subtitle. I might think I want to increase the outline on the text a bit on this size of the map. It's when I set it up, it was probably a bit more closer for a smaller map. So let's have a look at the text, the outer glow. Edit. It's only 0.5 units at the moment, so make it 1 unit. And this way. It's a bit clearer compared to the black lines in the background there. And then I want to put in a few labels here just to highlight the map. You could use the red ones for the varicolor one, or I could the black ones. I think I'm gonna try it with the red ones here. So just set to normal again. Oh, that's very large. Didn't know this was so large. Oh, no matter, we can just make this smaller. 0.2. Still a bit too large for my taste. Make it 0.1. It's too small, so let's make it 0.15. There we go. Let's put this here. Then these are set up, so you could put in any number or letter as you put it in. So I'm just gonna do that and do numbers in sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. So enough for my labels. And now I'm gonna go in and do a think I've set up a tool for the cartouche. No, I haven't. Oh, okay, there's someone at the door, but I can't go at the moment. I'll have to wait. So I'm gonna put in dark gray as a background for my cartouche and go on the text cartouche on the cartouche sheet. And I want to put my labels here, and I just want to give them a background, so it's easily readable. And you can see we do have a little bit of an overlap there in colors. That's because the hedge style has the same dark gray as my cartouche, and that's one of the points where the sheet effects in Cartographer get confused. So what we're going to try instead, we're going to do this in black. And then we do hit the outline of the trees, which are in black. So let's make it one step lighter. Yeah. And there we are, and we've got a solid background for the cartouche. And then I'm gonna go for white as the text. And the text cartouche, there we go. And then I'm gonna put in the description for my labels. So one is gonna be my overgrown road leading to the fort. I'm gonna do a multi-line. I could do each line individually, but I'm going to put them all together in one text entity here. 2 is the broken gate, 3 is the old dungeon, 4 is the keep, and 5 is the enchanted oak. Let's see, I'll put it down here, text. Well, it's running a little bit into another, so you see the lines are very close together. How can we change that? We can say change text properties, do it, and perhaps make it even a little bit smaller, 3.5, and we are going to do 200% spacing instead of 150%. And this way, as you can see, the lines are further apart. Now we're going to move it. Oops, that was a misclick. I wanted to click prior and not all. But we can do it like this. Now we just need to adjust our cartouche field, text field, to match the text. And I could move the corners individually, but I can also, because I want to move them both down the same way as anyway, I'm going to do a reshape stretch. Select the entity, do it, draw a window across the 2 points I want to stretch, then stretch down. Problem is I can't see the text here to see where it's placed, but we can do a refresh in the middle of the command, and then I can just barely see the text here. Oops, but I did move that a little bit to the left, so I'm going to move this back to the right, and there we are. And now I've got a matching text field for my text. Oh yes, so Vivian is right, I forgot it's the 6th number. I wanted to do cave entrance. So we're gonna have to edit this again. So I'm gonna edit the text first, and then it can be a bit hard to pick the text out because there's so many entities below that, and when you click it, it's gonna pick the first entity it hits, not necessarily the text. So if you, but what you can always do, we can freeze everything, and that way we can only pick out the text. So I'm going to do E for edit. Do it. Oh no, not. I need to do the numeric edit. There we are, and add 6 cave entrance. Okay, and now if our text is obviously outside the field again, and we're gonna do another stretch, edit, reshape, stretch, select our rectangle, move this down, and now we're gonna move these two up a bit, so it's probably within the map again. There we are, and there's our 6th text label, which I forgot. Yeah, well, it's It's not actually a number Wyvern, it's a big red ball that's lying there in the field with the number, like a giant billiard ball with a number on it. All right, and there we are. And we've got my nice little map exported. No, we could export it now, obviously. So let's have a quick look. Save as is JPEG bitmap file. Let's have a quick look. Sizes here. You can set the pixel size of your version. I normally don't use anti-alias. I do anti-alias basically by reducing the size in an external graphics editor like Photoshop. Crop image to aspect ratio means I don't have to have the exact dimensions here in relation to each other, because Campaign Cartographer will do that for me. And restrict to map borders also nice. That means anything beyond that gets cropped off. And launch image viewer means that that Windows will automatically launch the image editing or image viewing software you have associated with the JPEG. I'm going to do that. Save. See our export status running through pretty quick for a 3000 pixel wide map. Then my Photoshop comes up. And there's my map. Exported. Easy to print now. Clear labels. I like it. Alright, and that's about not quite an hour yet, but I'm done with the map and my voice will be grateful if I stop now for the evening. And we'll see each other next week again. Hope you enjoyed that. And as I noticed, I do need a little fix on the drawing tool for the cliff background. I'll put that up in the installer tomorrow. Then it's gonna be all hopefully correct. All right, thanks for joining. Hope you enjoyed the little walkthrough through the latest annual, and we'll see what we do again next week. I'm not quite sure yet. Do post any wishes in the forum or in the chat for the video here and see whether there's anything you want specifically you want me to do. One idea is that I'm gonna get back to working on my big Mirkwood map that does need some updates and might be handy to show some more stuff that I'm working on in the background, but I'm open to other stuff as well. Alright, have a good one and see you again next week. Bye bye.